Okay, hello everybody. Thank you for joining us. It's now 2 o'clock, so we're going to get started with this induction webinar of this series of continuous improvement webinars. So thank you for joining us, and numbers are still going up, which is brilliant to see. It's a really good turnout for this first session. So let's start by introducing ourselves. So we have on the call Lynn Winstanley, who's the National Director for the Sustainable Improvement Team. We've got Claire Duggan, who is the National Lead for Continuous Improvement, amongst some other roles. We've got Ian Smith, who's the Program Lead for Improvement Methodology, and myself, Michael Anderson, an Improvement Manager within the Sustainable Improvement Team. So what we're going to do today, well, we're going to have a chance to interact and practice using some of the WebEx interactive functions. We're going to introduce everybody to continuous improvement and what that is, and we're also going to talk through what the rest of this webinar series will cover and what their objectives are. We're going to have a chat about what you'll get out of these webinars or WebExes. We can't really define the difference, I don't think, but we'll go with webinars because that's what it says on the slide. We're going to agree on a learning compact between ourselves and yourselves, the participants, and we're going to look at how we can maximize our collective impact and really group together as a sort of a network of people that are all passionate about CI. So to get us started, I'm going to do some ways that you can interact with us through WebEx. If you're a hardened WebEx pro, this will be old news to you, but if not, this could be some stuff that you didn't know about. So first of all, I'm going to draw your attention to what we call the feedback icons. So in the participant panel on the right-hand side of your screen, there is a tiny little hand and a little megaphone on that side. Hopefully you can all see those. And if you select the megaphone, you'll get a little sub-menu that gives you different ways you can give us feedback as you're doing this. So I'd love it all if you could give me either a green tick, or if you've somehow managed to laugh already, some laughter, or whatever you feel like, or just a big no, whatever you fancy, that'd be great. If you could show us that you can use those, I'd appreciate that. Let's have a look. Getting some ticks, that's good. A few applause, thank you. Great. Okay, so that's one way to interact with us. Next, we've got the chat box. So some of you have been using this already. I just want to make sure that you all select from the drop-down box in the send to all participants, type your message in, and then click send. Sometimes it can be preset to just hosts or just panelists, so not everybody will be able to see your message. So please remember all participants for that one. And finally, we've got the annotation tools. So on the top left of your screen, there is a little pen icon. And if you click that, you get a drop-down box. And we're going to be using, first of all today, the arrow tool. And then later on, we're going to come on to use the pen tool a little bit further down. Nice. People are already getting involved. I mean, breaking the rules, that's fine. Don't worry about it. So next slide. Can you please put on the map where you're joining us from today? So I'm in the Midlands, around here. Aha, a few others. Oh, you've gone low, Baylis. I think I'm below you. There we go. Great. If anybody's having any trouble with this, please either raise your hand or send a message directly to Claire Potts, who's kindly in the background helping us out today. She'll be able to show you what to do. Great. Full map. It's good to see. Give a few more people a chance to put on there. And a good spread of the country. No one from Penzance, though. Excellent. A few people drawing even. Great stuff. Okay, we're going to turn off the annotation tools for the time being. So Claire, if you can deny people the privilege of being able to scribble all over the slides, that would be brilliant. So we're going to use the chat box now to learn a little bit more about you. And people have been doing this already, which is brilliant to see, but we're going to just make sure everybody's happy with the functionality in there. So we'd love to know what your job role is, what you're hoping to get out of this webinar series, and what are the things that you would ideally, if you could pick one or two things, want to improve. And we'll try and see them as they come in and try and pick out some groups of what's happening out there. But any of those in the chat boxes would be really appreciated. This is where I'm sat here, secretly hoping you're all typing away, and there's going to be a flurry of, yes, thank you. So we've got improvement managers, business coordinators, project managers, clinical Senate manager, director of SI, business coordinator. Excellent. Great to see. Hi, Jody. And if we jump to the what would you like to improve, it would be really good just to get a snapshot of what people are what's bugging you in your day life, in your day job. You know, what is out there that you think, oh, this could do with a little bit of CI work on it. Any things on that? Scattered for workforce, we need to do something. Yep. Waste, and more waste. Excessive spend, yes. Travel to venues. Lack of cohesion, yes. Completely agree, Debbie. Simple templates, keeping things simple. Yeah, the amount of times we hear that. Duplication of effort. Great, you've all got loads of ideas, which is brilliant to see. That's a really good way to start these WebExes. So I'm going to let you keep typing away in the background, but I'm now going to hand over to Claire, who's going to take you through the next section.
Sorry, just a bit slow there. I need to improve my skills on WebEx. Well, thank you very much for everybody joining. We've got over 70 people now, so that's fantastic. Fingers crossed, we might even get up to 100 by the end of the session. Just want to first thank the Sustainable Improvements team for the great work they've done in helping to get us this far with the continuous improvement. And we've really just been working together as a virtual team, and I'm hoping after today's session that virtual team will actually be extended. But the skills that Ian and Michael and everybody's brought has been fantastic, and I'm sure you'll hear more from Lynn on that as well. So why are we doing this? Back this summertime last year in the North, we were asked if we would carry out a proof of concept of whether using continuous improvement methodology and ways of working, could that really help? And at that time, it was mainly focused on NHS England now, and I appreciate we're in a bit of a different place at the moment, but it's still important that we do continuous improvement. And we actually worked with a company that many of you may have heard of, that was Unipart. And what really surprised me when we set off the project, although it was a difficult time of year because it was just coming up to the summer holidays and it's never the right time of year, all the staff were just so keen to reduce the burden, and that's what they really wanted to do. So we had great engagement. It was really fantastic, and it was decided that, yes, this would be a great way of improving patient care, and how, what are the ideas to really roll out continuous improvement. And the most important thing, which is great that we have got the chat box on today, and I'd be keen to hear from you all, is what were the hopes and fears of people that got involved? And the number one thing that they really pointed at was this: nothing will change. They were really concerned that, okay, we get involved in this initiative and then everybody moves on to something else and we don't actually see anything change. So it's really been important for us that in the North we have continued to make progress and maintain the momentum. And over the coming weeks and months, I hope that you'll be able to share some of the things that we have done, and then we'll be able to hear what you've done too. Michael and Rebecca and I went down to the South and East team meetings last week, and were able to share some of those. And Jill and Aaron were sharing some things at the staff engagement session as well. So one of the things we will be keen to hear as we roll out this programme are what are your hopes and fears, and how do we really move NHS England, and as it's working with NHSI, forward as well. So we then sort of said, well, what does continuous improvement mean? And I'm sure you've heard lots of different things yourselves. And it really reminded me when I was listening to the London Marathon, and lots of people were talking about improving their personal best and running the second quicker, or maybe a minute. And it was all just, seeking just small improvements every time, and then you'll achieve something really big. And that's what really we want to do with continuous improvement. It's not necessarily some fancy, damn big radical thing, but just something of improving things, making a difference every day, starting meetings on time, finishing them on time, those sort of things. But really, I think if we get the small step incremental change, that will lead us to some of the big transformational changes that we need to do. But I think one of the reasons we've really got the engagement on continuous improvement is we're all here to make a difference for patients, and I think sometimes some of the things we feel we could invest more and wish we had the time and the capacity to spend more time on the things that we think will matter to patients, and that's why we really want to get as many people involved as we can. So one of the things I noticed when you were putting your comments up there, you talked a lot about waste and duplication of effort. And one of the things that we found when we did the proof of concept was there was a lot of value-add things that people do, the contribution they make to the NHS, to patient care, best value for the taxpayer is absolutely fantastic. But we did identify a number of areas that we might have to do to get the value add. So it's sometimes we do have to do some things that are non-value add to make sure what we're doing is making a difference. But we did find we probably do a bit too much of that. And then we certainly found areas of waste where we shouldn't really be doing at all, and our aim is to reduce that waste, reduce the non-value add, so we can spend more time available to contributing and making a really big difference. One of the challenges we found when we did this proof of concept was that for NHS England we don't really have standards in place, so it was really difficult to manage to identify the big tangible things that really could make a difference. And I think as we really start to roll the program out, we're hopeful that we'll be able to do that. And one of the things we found with experiencing the findings that we found was that we did identify around 15 to 20% of waste. For example, we did the planning that you see up here. The planning round last year, we actually did 7 additional iterations of that, which was 3,600 hours, which were actually after the deadline. That was not in anybody's work plan, and that was just one team. So you can imagine the impact across the whole of NHS England, across all the CCGs. That is huge. Now, hopefully the planning guidance has tried to learn from that, and we did share that with Matthew Swindells and Simon Weldon. Simon Weldon was his eyes popped out of his head when he saw the diagram and the maps in relation to that. So I think that is, we've got some really good evidence of how we can make a difference, and it works. But a lot of that is really down to leadership. We've got to make sure that we get the right leadership, and I believe that you can have the best process in the world, but without the right leadership to back you up on that, then that's where we sometimes get things not being sustainable and consistent. So we really do want to ensure that we link the leadership development and how we really embed the change with the overall continuous improvement work. I think some of the things that you will highlight today is about the digital and infrastructure challenges that we've got, and we are already starting to work with Mark Blakeman and his team in some of the areas. But I think what did come out very strongly, and this will link into our staff survey as well, that Unipart said they were amazed at the lack of challenge. Staff really didn't challenge. So I'm not really talking about there being just saying, oh, I don't want to do that, I don't feel like that today. More like, well, why are we doing certain things? What difference is it going to make to a patient? Do we really understand what we've been asked to do? Because that lack of clarity sometimes results in rework. So, as I mentioned in that last slide, the staff survey, what I was not really surprised about, but what I thought really helped with the continuous improvement, when we got the results of this year's staff survey, the #1 key issue highlighted by staff was excessive hours. The number of hours people put in to do the job. With continuous improvement, if we really start to get things right, one of our key aims is that we reduce those excessive hours and we really start to release people's capacity so that they can work on the new systems such as the integrated care systems. There's lots of things that we need to be working on. So one of the key areas we're really looking forward to hearing from yourselves over the coming weeks is what would help to reduce those excessive hours. The other areas I mentioned was challenge. People feel they can't challenge, and if you can't challenge, then how can you improve? So we've really got to work with leaders to enable and create those safe conditions that people feel that they can do that. We've then got decision making, people feeling they're not involved in the decision making at all. Again, with continuous improvement, if it's going to succeed, staff have to be empowered and feel safe to solve problems at their own level. So we hope that we see a great improvement on that. Career development was the fourth area, and we're hoping as we roll out these sessions and train the trainer sessions that Michael and Ian will comment on and Lynn later, that you actually will be able to enhance your career and enhance your capabilities in relation to continuous improvement. And then the fifth thing was really having leaders that will inspire and incentivize and motivate. So we see all of those things that are all integral to continuous improvement, and we're hoping if we get this right, then staff will actually feel that they can contribute, they can make a difference, because basically when you read the staff survey, people are saying they want improvement, they want change. And for example, procurement was a big area that was highlighted, and we're already working with Adrian Snar's team and Kevin Bates, and we've had a number of CI sessions facilitated by Michael, which has gone fantastically well. And we're really hoping we'll see some short, medium and long-term improvements in that area. So what we're hoping is that over time, CI just becomes the way we work to improve. So improving the way we work, it will be what continuous improvement's all about. People come into work every day, they want to do better, they don't want to do worse than they did the day before. So I think it's all about striving. And I'll use a football example, but listening to Jurgen Klopp the other day when Liverpool got through to the final, which is this weekend, he was already focusing on next season and not resting on the laurels, but saying we've still got to continuously improve. And there's many sporting analogies where people are really striving to do better. I mentioned about we need to be able to constructively challenge. There's lots of ineffective systems and processes out there, but people need to feel safe and really have the right conditions to do that. Collaborative working, that's how we will be able to make a difference about working collaboratively. I'm glad that people like to comment on Jurgen Klopp. I like watching him on TV, he's good fun. So working collaboratively, and of course now that we're working much more jointly with NHSI, and NHSI, they've done a lot around Virginia Mason, so we really will be talking the same language and working collaboratively in that way. One of the things we don't do enough of, I feel, is sharing the success, and we are looking at how we can, whether it's through SharePoint or other ways. There's some fantastic things that are happening, both innovatively. So we really want to make sure that those areas that we reduce the waste, that we share the success. And I think if we do all of those things, then it really will become a happy and healthy place to work. And I was just listening to something yesterday, and they said, if you have fun, you get more done. And I think, with this collaborative way of working, if people start to feel they're reducing that waste, we will feel that we can get more done. So I'm really glad that so many of you have joined today, and I'm going to hand over now to Ian Smith, and Ian will talk a little bit more about the continuous improvement. But we're really happy to have your comments in the chat box as we go, and I really want to thank you all for taking the time today, and thanks to the Sustainable Improvements team for getting us this far as well. So Ian, I shall hand over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Claire. So I'm Ian Smith. I've got a couple of slides here before handing over to our director, Lynn, and then I'll be back a little bit later. But first of all, we've got here on the screen what we're kind of describing as a house diagram, a house of continuous improvement, if you will. And it's really just to describe what we'll be looking at over the next few weeks in the webinar sessions coming up throughout the rest of the month, and how those things relate to each other and come together. So collectively, these sessions will provide a foundation for continuous improvement that hopefully over time will lead to better quality. And the pillars in our house describe the basic concepts and tools that we will look at over the webinar sessions starting in a couple of weeks' time. So we start, I think, on, is it June the 5th, where we'll be looking at value, waste, and the planned use to the act cycle. We'll be looking in more detail at visual control, 5S workplace organisation the week after that, and then this idea that Claire mentioned about how we can create work standards that help improvement to stick will be how we close out. They sit on a foundation of continuous improvement and build up to deliver better quality. You might see that these terms continuous improvement and lean, you might see both terms used and you might see them used interchangeably. We'll tend to focus more on continuous improvement and highlighting that as our goal, but it's worth knowing that the methods and tools that feature in the webinars might also be referred to as lean. And lean is basically just a method that's it's a widely used approach to continuous improvement. It is, as Claire just mentioned, attracting a lot of attention with NHS Improvement's work with Virginia Mason, which does have a very strong lean thread running through it. As I say, continuous improvement is how we will tend to refer to it now. So we have another way to interact with you here. We've got a poll, which hopefully Claire pops in the background. We'll launch the poll in the background in a moment. We're just interested, though, while Claire's doing that, to find out how many of you have applied any continuous improvement or lean tools previously. And we've got the option of these on the screen. Yes, a lot. Yes, a little bit. Or no, it's not something that I've done a great deal amount with as yet. So I'm going to hold my breath and see whether Claire will tell me that the poll is ready to go live. Now, is it, Claire, or do we need?
Yes, I'm in the poll now, Ian.
Ah, perfect. So here we go. We have those questions. We give you a few moments to answer them, and when most of you have done that, we will be able to close the poll. So let us know your thoughts on your experience with these.
It's 81% finished, Ian.
I was just going to say, can you see at your end, Claire, how we're doing? We don't want to give it 5 minutes.
Complete.
We'll give people a few more seconds while I fill for dead air, and then we'll take a look at the results.
Yeah, let's make Mr. Smith fill as much dead air as he can. So it's always good fun.
Well, when you're there to come in and back me up, Michael, it's very easy to do. Thank you. That's probably enough filling it. If you could see those results pop up on the screen, that would be great. Let's see how we did.
Shall I close the poll and share the results now, Ian?
Yes, please. Okay, I can see the poll has ended. It just takes a second or two for the graph to come up.
Yeah, 7 seconds till the results through, I think.
No, more filling of dead air. I'll get Michael back to tell a joke. Although I must warn you, he's not very good at that. Here we go. Okay. Oh, that's great. So it seems there are a few folks who say, yes, we've done quite a lot of continuous improvement. There's a slightly bigger proportion saying, yes, we've done a bit. And then most of us are saying, no, it's not something that we've done a great deal with as yet. So I think whichever category you fall into, that is fine. If you have done some of this stuff before, then hopefully these webinars will serve as a bit of a refresher, and you can contribute your experiences in the chat box for others. And if it's something that you've not done a lot of work with, then hopefully it will give a good introduction to the field of continuous improvement and some fundamentals that we can all get started with using shortly. So and that's it for me for now. I'm going to hand over to the Director of Sustainable Improvement, the inimitable Lynn Stanley, who will take us through exactly what we will cover and what the benefits to us all will be. And then I believe I'll come back in a little bit later. So
Thank you, Ian.
Just move the slide on and see if I can hand the ball across to you, Lynn.
Thank you very much indeed. So I've got the very important task of just keeping a very close eye on the clock, because I'm going to pause at exactly 2:30 to allow us to all think about Manchester. Manchester's my hometown. For many of you, you will have been either directly involved in the tragedy a year ago. I was worried sick about my own daughter that day, so I would like us at exactly 2:30 to just think about the population of Greater Manchester, for those that were personally affected, and for those of our emergency services that put their lives at risk going in to help people who were going through absolutely awful situations. So when we get close to 2:30, I will just say, let's just think of Manchester. But until then, I'm just going to fill 6 minutes of time, or 5 minutes, to just talk about the webinar objectives. First of all, I'd like to thank Claire for asking the Sustainable Improvement team to come in to this work. As Claire's already said, it's a virtual team and we're working in very close partnership. As part of our offer to you, it isn't just about the education of continuous improvement skills and understanding the principles, it's access to us as a team. We are NHS England's internal improvement team, and a team that is very responsive and very interested in your requirements. So as part of this work, we'd like to introduce you to our own internal SharePoint Knowledge Hub, which is available to all of you now with nhs.net email accounts, to the Improvement Hub, which we have sitting on the NHS England website, to all of the tools and techniques that go back. We have made sure we've got the best of the best tools, over 10 to 15 years of national improvement. At the same time as this work is running and the webinars, Ian and the team are also going to be starting to deliver the Virtual Academy of Large Scale Change webinars, which go back to the original work that Helen Bevan, Paul Plesic and myself designed back in 2009, where we did our first work at looking across organisations and organisational change. So that's available to you. So there's an awful lot of work that we can offer you as part of this relationship with you. At the same time, we're also going to be refreshing our Productive series, which was an original product from the NHS Institute, which again has continuous improvement concepts within it, and it's very much built around the 5S principles, which I'll cover in just a moment. So part of our relationship is about sharing the wider knowledge management resources that we have. So the webinars will cover the principles of continuous improvement, as Ian's already talked about. Lots of tools and techniques, really easy ones for you to be able to go and try out as soon as you've finished each of the modules on the webinars. We don't want to do things that are hard to implement, because that's going against the principles of reducing unnecessary waste. We want to talk through the concepts of value and waste, and very much as managers, we often create our own waste in processes and systems. I often think there's part of being a manager that we have to create a bit of waste in everything we do, and we've got to change the mindset of how we actually operate as managers and clinicians in the system. We're going to talk about the benefits of visual management and standardisation of working practices, and those are going to be very important for all of us to be refreshed or to learn for the first time about, and understanding the importance of work standards. So lots of simple to use tools and techniques to really help you get started. The training offer today, obviously, is day 0, where we're giving you, hopefully, an exciting introduction into the work. Module 1 will then start to really deep dive into continuous improvement and lean. Module 2 will start to look at visual controls and 5S workplace in the organisation. So the principles around 5S of sort, set, shine, standardise and sustain, which will be very familiar to many of you. And as I previously said, we certainly used them when we were doing the design work of the Productive series some years ago. We're going to be looking at Module 3 around standard operations. So we've got 3 webinars that are going to really walk you through with tools, techniques, approaches, and opportunity to have chat around all of this, and we hope you're going to find those incredibly useful. As Ian's already said, we kick off on the 5th of June with our introduction to CI and Lean. The 15th of June, we're going to be then looking at the controls and the 5S workplace organisation. And then webinar 3 will look at standard operations. And those dates and all of those links will be put into chat by Claire any moment.
Oh,
so I'm
Lynn,
conscious that the time, yeah, thank you,
Sorry.
Michael. So I'm conscious that it's coming up to past. I'm going to actually suggest that we mute the lines and we actually now start to think about, respectfully, friends, colleagues, members of the public, members of the arms of the services, emergency services, people who put their lives at risk and were affected by the Manchester tragedy. 1 minute silence. Thank you. Thank you all for just sharing that moment to think about Manchester. Let's just carry on with my last slide, which before I hand back over to Ian, so what's in it for you? Additional to the points on this slide, what's in it for you is a great opportunity to feel really energised and to learn about improvement. Continuous improvements and the principles of lean are one of many things that, as I've already said, we can offer you, but this work is looking at the CI process. I think it's an amazing opportunity, and we also need to be really encouraged that our own executive team are really supporting Claire with this work. So it's a chance for you to be really making a positive change. An opportunity for you to take control of your own working environment and the processes that you use, particularly looking at the back office support, and there's been lots on chat about how we share what we're doing with procurement and the finance team, and we'll open that up for comments and questions and for Claire to respond shortly. It's always really difficult when you work in a national team to wonder how your work actually supports and enables positive care to be improved to patients. I often find it difficult to sometimes explain that, you know, I'm not a nurse anymore. I've been a nurse for many years. I've been a general manager, but I actually feel that being the director of the SI team, I am indirectly improving the way that care is delivered to patients, and that is very satisfying. And hopefully with this work, you will always feel really connected. Reduce the confusion and the variation to clarify processes and make life easier. So how can we actually use CI to really make our lives so much easier as managers in NHS England? Reduce the burden of work and stress levels. By actually taking out that waste, we can make systems and processes so much smoother, and actually reduce some of the frustration that you've all been talking about on the chat line. And most importantly, we would like to sort of have a faculty of all of you as our improvement CI faculty members and improvement experts. So improve the capabilities and capacity of CI skills across the whole of NHS England. So this is very important for us because we want to actually train you to be the experts, and I think the model that we've actually designed will do that very, very well. So I am going to hand back over to Ian, and he's going to take you through the rest of the slides. Thank you.
Super, many thanks, Lynn. Yes, I've just got a few more to do, and then we'll get you back to your afternoon's agendas. So first of all, just to make sure that that we all maximise the learning and the impact that we can have, we've got a few things to think about and a few asks. Helpful to have a clear idea what you'd like to get out of the program in terms of how the content fits with your continuous improvement challenges and your change goals and objectives. Also, if you have questions to ask, which I notice most of you have started, which is great, please do ask them throughout the program. There are various ways to do that through the chat box, which we're using well already, but also outside of the webinars via the collaboration space on SharePoint, which we will introduce shortly. We have designed the program to be quite interactive, so please do get involved in the various tasks, polls, chat box questions throughout. We started that today to hopefully get people used to that. And again, we appreciate that you all will have very busy diaries, but if you can, please do take some time to reflect on the program content, what we're learning, and consider how you will apply that to your own continuous improvement and change challenges, because that's the most important thing, that we apply what we're learning, that we make a difference to our own work, to ourselves and those that depend on us. And if we can share that with each other, that can help us all to learn a little bit more quickly as well. So what is expected of each of us on these sessions? So there's a question there just before by Caroline asking about this. If you can, please do try to attend the sessions when they run live, because they do have, believe it or not, for webinars, quite an interactive element. We think that will be the best way to get the most from them. However, if you can't make one, don't worry about it. They're all being recorded, including this one, and they will be made available to view via the SharePoint site that our colleagues have put together for continuous improvement. There will be, the scary word in the middle there, some homework between each session. That will help embed the learning from the different topics that we cover. But don't worry about it, it's not particularly time intensive, and it's designed as something that we can do at work and to get us thinking about the real tangible changes that we can make and how we can put the things that we're learning into practice quite quickly. And as the most important aspect is that we take forward continuous improvement thinking into our everyday work. So, on that note, to help ensure that we can all get the most from the webinar series, we have some promises and asks, or gives and gets, if you prefer, in what we call here a learning compact or agreement. So, for our part, we promise to start on time and end on time, so that you know that the sessions are going to take place where they are scheduled in the calendar. We're going to try to make these as high quality as we can and as interactive as we can, considering that we're not all in the same space, in the same classroom. We've tried to bring as much of that kind of classroom interactivity into these as we can, and hopefully that will play out the way that we hope. We would like to share our stories of application, and we hope that you will as well. The team have provided a space to communicate and collaborate, which we'll introduce in a couple of slides' time. And we have plenty of resources for you, many of which Lynn's alluded to already on our Knowledge Hub, to help you with your own continuous improvement journeys. And again, the asks that we have of you, which we hope that you will accept, is go with us on this and start on time and end on time. Do get involved and ask questions. I think we can't reinforce that enough, it would seem. Apply the learning to your own work, and then please do let us know how you're getting on. I know Claire in particular is very keen to know what people are doing, how that's playing out, and how they're creating benefits for themselves. And to do that, we have a SharePoint and a Yammer page of some details that have just popped up in the group there to show us where some of those are. They'll pop up in a moment again as well. And at the end of each session, including this one, I think there will be a post-webinar survey which will help us to continuously improve as well, particularly if we run these sessions again for other colleagues, which we hope we will be able to do. So if you think that you can sign up to that deal, to that agreement, what we'd like you to do, I will ask Claire, if you have not already, if you turned on the interaction tool, that's perfect. Yes, if you could put or indeed, or if you prefer to put an arrow, Claire knows what to do there, to put an arrow on to say that you would like to do that would be fantastic. And we'll just let those come in for a few seconds. That's a fantastic tick in the what I would call burgundy or dark red, being a man, being all able to see 4 colours. Excellent. still coming in. I can't quite count those up, but that looks like a good proportion are happy to go with. Thank you very much. That looks like the place to stop. Now someone's drawn a big pink cloud, and Terry on the chat box says can't get the tick to work, but is happy to go with that as well. So I think we'll take that as success. We should take a snapshot of the screen to prove that people said they would. So, sorry, just got an arrow there as I switched across the screen. So we've mentioned the SharePoint and the Yammer sites. Claire and the team have worked hard to put something together for us to interact, a place where we can put resources and the recordings of the videos, and also a place where we can share some of the outputs from hopefully the homework activities that we do as well. So there'll be resources and links in there. We'll be sharing best practice, your best practice, I would hope, on the difference that you make, accessing recordings of the sessions, should you need to review them, refresh on them, or if you need to catch up. And we'll be connecting with each other as peers on the application of continuous improvement methods and lean. So more details of those to come out to everybody shortly. I think we'll be emailing out, and they've gone in the chat box already. So we have, before we get to a close, just one more poll to do, and I think we'll just use the arrows for this one, the little tick box arrows. Are they still on, Claire? Claire Potts, I'm asking?
Something yes, they are.
Yeah. They are, I can see they've gone on. So the question there is how comfortable do we feel using SharePoint in Yammer? Is it not at all, somewhat, or very? Just read them out quickly before we cover them in Scribble. I think I'm going to put myself in the middle there. Okay, so that's looking like that's shaping up to be a fairly even spread. We've got some people who are very confident and up to speed with Yammer and SharePoint. Some of us who think, yeah, we're not too bad, somewhat okay, and there are a few who are saying that perhaps it's not our favorite thing. Not sure what the answer is on that. I'm going to suggest that perhaps if those in first team who've worked on putting this together could perhaps put a few pointers together and a bit of a guide for those who are a little bit more new to it or haven't quite developed the confidence yet, just to get them going. That might be a helpful thing for us to do. Can't do this tick thing. So Debbie can't do the tick thing. So maybe a little bit of top tips on how we can get that interactivity going in SharePoint would be good. So thank you very much, folks. Can we just clear those ticks away before I move on to the next slide, Claire? That's grand. So we've reached the end. So just before we do close out the webinar, we'll open the chat box if anybody has any questions for any of the team. We direct them to hopefully the most appropriate individual. And if you're feeling very bold, we can unmute you for you to ask your question live on air. So there's not a question, but there's a comment from Michelle there that not everyone access to Yammer. And she's saying it took her about 3 weeks to go through the Atlas process to get access. Claire looks like she's already on the case, suggesting that that's a good opportunity for continuous improvement. So are there, folks, any questions that you'd like to direct to Claire or any others of the team before we close the session? So there's a question, will the homework still be relevant if we use the recording from Mandy? I might bring Michael. I'll give you my view while Michael comes on in the background. I think if you watch the recording fairly soon after the session takes place, I think it will be. We don't want to give the game away, but they're all tasks that can be done at work. We're not suggesting anybody spend too long on them. It's just a small amount of time to start continuous improvement. And we have been asking, or we will be asking, that people share what they've done on the SharePoint or the Yammer space before the next session. And that is, of course, if you have access to those things. Do you want to add anything to that, Michael?
Yeah, no, I think you're right. I mean, it's only, what, 20 or 30 hours worth of work between sessions? It's nothing, is it? It's absolutely fine. Only joking. It's only a small amount. But yeah, I think you can definitely do them from watching the recordings. I don't think they are integral to be live. I think you could do them if you wanted to without a problem.
Yeah, I think so. I think what you might miss on the live stuff is some of the interactive activities that we've got. It'll be a bit like watching Britain's Got Talent on the recorded session when you can't vote. is how I might think about it. My children, you might guess, are inflicting that on me on a weekend. We've got another question from Jane, who's asking, is the course suitable for admin support? I'm going to ask Mike to answer. I think the answer is yes. Mr. Anderson, do you have anything to say?
100%, yes, definitely.
100% yes. So there we go. Now the questions are flying past too quickly. Something about guides for Yammer, and I think somebody's posted something which might be a guide for Yammer. And Lynn's coming in saying, yes, Jane, definitely suitable for admin support as well. So I'll pause. Are there any more questions? They will be good ones. Admin support is all about continuous improvement. That's why I'm here. Absolutely. In our experience, admin support does continuous improvement very, very well. So we'll be looking for big things from you. Volunteers for helping people understand Yammer as well. There's a link there, and Debbie Young is offering to help folks understand it. So those of you who are finding it a mystery, in which I will put myself in that category, may well be in touch with Debbie to find out. Okay, and Callie from our team offering to help out with SharePoint. So I think we'll move on and close the session out. If there are any questions coming in the box, that's fine. We will either answer them outside the form or we just pick them up before we close. But I think to get people back to do the things you need to do this afternoon, give you a chance to get a cup of tea, we may bring things to an end. So all that we have to do is say that coming up is the first webinar. It does say coming soon, coming next week. It's actually coming in 2 weeks' time. We take a break next week in case folks have commitments over the half-term holiday. So to get the biggest audience, we've got a couple of weeks to get started. Tuesday, the 5th of June, is the first training webinar. And that will be running, Mr. Anderson, remind me of the time. Is it 2 o'clock?
They're all 2 till 3. Yep.
All 2 till 3, all running on Tuesdays from the 5th of June and running weekly. So Tuesday the 5th of June, that's the date to put in your diary for the first one. We hope that you will all join us there. We'll be introducing continuous improvement and their origins in lean thinking. So many thanks for joining us today. Have a great day all, and we look forward to catching up with you in 2 weeks' time to go through the program proper. Have a good time, folks.